This year looks totally different than last year at the same time of the year. This is so green, as you can see. We just have grass that's 3-4 feet high, sometimes even 7 or 8 feet high, depending on the grass variety. And this year, I even saw all these sunflowers, these wild sunflowers come up. So that was a really nice surprise. I didn't see those last year. We've had so much more rain. And if you've watched the video of the 3 inches of rain, what it looks like, this was all underwater. This was the field that you saw in that video. So this is the garden space. There's also a few videos of that in the beginning, but as you can see, it got pretty much totally overtaken by grass. That really snuck up on me. There's some corn that I planted trying to pop up. You can see some tomatoes that are still doing all right. They're still making some tomatoes, a little okra in the background, some zucchini. But even though it's so green here and there's plenty of grass growing, the soil is not set up for vegetables. So I tried to do my best to improve the soil before I planted those, but all I did was put some biochar and a little bit of manure around the area. So it just didn't turn out great. Kind of disappointing, but I'm learning what it takes to grow food in the desert. It's a lot easier in other places where the soil's already ready for vegetables. But as you can see here, there's some more sunflowers just growing in the wild, which is lovely. But yeah, the grass is, as you can see, up past my waist. And I bought those 5 mangalites of pigs. I really wish I bought sheep, but I wanted to experiment with the pigs because I really like pork and all the products that you can make from it. So I bought the sheep, and here we are. So I think that experiment is done. I think I know where I stand on that, and I would love to get a ruminant animal like a sheep or a cow or something that eats all this grass here, because the pigs do not prefer grass. They will eat it, but they would rather me drop some kitchen scraps from the local restaurant. And I also didn't see this berry last year. This is the desert hackberry. So let's see if we can get up and find some of the berries. There's it right there. So this is pretty tasty. I like the wolfberry better, but these are still pretty juicy. You know, fruit out here is not, they're not juicy like blackberries, and they're not super sweet, although the wolfberry is pretty sweet, so I've enjoyed that. But yeah, just so much more life here compared to last year with the amount of rain that we have received. And honestly, I thought I was gonna get a lot more done in a year just with some basic infrastructure, and that did not happen. And so I've been a little down lately on that, but it's hard to be sad when there's all these sunflowers here. No, but seriously, it has been a little tough. My morale has been struggling. I think that I went into this knowing that I wasn't going to build within a year, but I thought I would have a well, have a good solar array up where I could plug in a camper to get AC, stuff like that. That was a little more temporary. And it turns out that those projects are all halfway done. The solar, I actually have all the stuff in. I just got it today. I've got a 3,000 watt inverter that's going to be able to power that AC unit, one of my campers, along with the other pieces to that system. And I think I will do a video on that. The well, that's going to be another video. That didn't quite work out as I had planned, but it's coming along. It's just, you know, you want to, it's been a freaking year. You want to get things done so that you can move forward. Now that I've seen the land do what it does in a year, right? And that could change. Things could happen later on that did not happen this year. That's totally conceivable, but I saw a big rain. I've seen the different animals we've had running around. I saw Aoudad for the first time running through one of these meadows, so that was really cool. And this here is the desert willow that I first enjoyed when I was here. You can see all the little flowers are dropping. The pollinators love this. Let's see if we can catch, maybe, I don't know if you can see there's some kind of bug. But the hummingbirds love it, the hummingbird moths love it, bees, all sorts of animals. So the desert willow has been a really nice tree to have already mature here on the property. As you can see, it's probably 15 feet at its height, its top height. And it's also important, you know, I'm learning where the water goes when it does rain. So I'm kind of walking through a trench here. You can see how much lower it is than the surrounding terrain. And I tried to shove some brush in here the other day when it was running, just to slow it down, because I'm not sure where it goes after it goes through this drainage ditch. It kind of heads into the grass where I can't walk. And I had tried to build a little footbridge over this gap. You can see that got washed away. So there's another example of a project not done yet. And the pigs are coming to say hi. It's almost sunset, and I just fed them, but they just love to bug me. That's one of their hobbies. So they usually travel together. Today I went to the creek and only 4 of them showed up, and when I walked back, one of them was still at the campsite, so that was interesting. Usually they all move together, but I wonder if it just got caught taking a nap. Who knows? But one of the projects that I want to do is to cover all this bare ground. So you saw back there's plenty of grass, plenty of ground cover. All I need is for something to eat that grass. But if we move over here, we can see tons of bare ground. And so when it rains, the bentonite clay kind of soaks up the water and then it evaporates. So a lot of the stuff here doesn't have time to grow. And you can kind of see how deep it is. This one loves to bug me. But there's a little bit of moisture left. You see that? But on the top, it's all dried up. And that is not the case. I know, hi. That is not the case over where the grass is. It's still moist at the surface. So one thing I've thought about doing is taking all this flood debris and chipping it up and laying it across the terrain. You can start to see some of this debris I'm speaking of, but there'll be more over there closer to the creek. But the general idea is to use the resources that I have available to me, which is all the flood debris that is caught up over there in the brush. The wood chipper, I've never been a huge fan of these loud machines. I actually moved here to get away from loud machines like weed whackers, lawnmowers, all that sound. I actually moved, one of the reasons I moved here was to get away from that. So me using a wood chipper is kind of, it's not ironic. Just wanted to show you the cottonwood and how that looks so much better than it has in the past. I'll flip an image up of what it looked like over the winter. Obviously it was dormant, but it's so cool to see how lush this environment can be with enough water. And the cottonwood is the only cottonwood on the property, and I do have 100 acres of land, so that's a pretty wild ratio of only having one of these trees on the property. But there's also a lot of desert willows around here, which is really nice. And You know, they are drought tolerant from what I've learned, but they do like wet feet. You won't find the desert willow growing up in the mountains where the water really doesn't sit for very long. They like it where the water table is higher. So you can see there's desert willow right there, desert willow right there, over there, and right here. And this grass is just so lush and green and beautiful. And we've got all sorts of little flowers growing and different types of grasses, not just the same kind. You know, there's this one right here. I don't know what that is. And then there's these grasses over here, which are different, I think. And you can tell when you look around that there's a variety, different types of plants growing and flowers. But yeah, here's the cottonwood. This gives really nice shade. I've put some seating right next to it. And when I had the water running from the creek, I had a pump running. See, look at the butterflies, love it too around here. But I watered this area and I tried to throw some mulch down. So this is definitely a lovely spot. One of the only spots with shade. Actually, it's not sunny right now, but this is a lovely area. You can see Sawmill Mountain around the bend right there, and there's the Cone Mountain. So moving close to the creek, you start to see the debris from past big rain events. You can kind of see, this is a little one, but here's a big one right here. So that's almost 3 feet tall, and we're still 100, the creek's over there, we're still pretty far from the creek, so it came all the way up here. And there's this big old logs, lots of good kind of mulchy material, which would be great to use on a garden, but also just to spread. As you can see, it's bare right here, and you know, it would get washed away in another big rain event, but the idea is to get things to start growing, to put down roots and start breaking this clay up. So it might not be permanent, but it's better than, in my opinion, than just letting it sit there. Nothing's really growing out of it. You can see it's just a pile of this debris. And it's also knocked down some of these trees. There's been some desert willows that I've tried to quote unquote save by taking all that debris off the base of the trunk, thinking that it might spur on rot and decay. So I have tried to do that, but I've left these alone until I decide what I want to do exactly. But as we're coming to the creek, we're still another maybe 30 or 40 feet out, but we get more grass. And it's just crazy to me how much grass there is. And the creek is still flowing. We've had a lot of rain recently, and the rain has been north of us, so it will trickle down into the creek. Lady's in there right now. I know it's not going hard, so I let her swim in it, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when I'm taking her out here, is how that creek is running. The pigs always love it too. They come down here to drink water and roll in the mud. Where's the fifth one? Oh, there she is. What do you think, lady? You love a creek. Yeah, she loves the creek. When we lived in North Carolina, we always used to go to this spot on the creek. Sometimes 3 times a week we would go down there. It was a shipping container that had been converted into a bar, and they had music. on the weekends, and it was our favorite place. So when I saw this creek property for sale, I had jumped on it thinking that even though it was seasonal, I would still get a little creek for my puppy, a 10-year-old puppy. So this is a great asset for the pigs as well to wallow into.